Hi, welcome to English Studies Hub. My name is Jackie and I'm excited to be here with you today. Today's lecture promises to be interesting. We are going to examine communication. We'll begin a series in communication, and today we start with Introduction to Communication. That's what we will delight you with. I'm sure you will learn a thing or two from today's teaching. Have you subscribed to my channel? If you have, we want to say thank you. Thank you for your subscription. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for keeping us in business. And I hope that you are enjoying yourself here, that you are able to learn something from our videos. Please help us to share our videos with your family and friends. We will be glad. And for those of you who are yet to subscribe to this channel, what exactly are you waiting for? Kindly hit the subscribe button and encourage us to continue releasing videos. I'm sure that you will learn well on this channel. We teach English, we teach literature, we teach communication. I'm sure you will find this channel interesting. All right. In today's teaching, we would define communication. We will also examine the elements of communication, and then we'll discuss the process of communication. How does communication take place? What then is communication? How do we define communication? Communication is a very interesting term. It's interesting because the word is about us. The word communication predates man. It was here before man was created. From the biblical version, I'm a Christian, and so I use that. From the biblical version, we're told that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And that everything that we have was made by the Word of God. So, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. So God used communication to call things into being. So communication is very important. And then you will agree with me that people care less about the meaning of communication and how communication takes place, but we communicate every day with one another. Communication is one thing that we cannot do without as humans. We communicate with one another. We even communicate with the lower animals. We communicate with the things created by us. So communication is very important. And in this course, in this lesson today, we want to examine communication, find out the meaning, and see whether we can make anything out of it. Now, to define communication is not an easy thing. Somehow it's difficult to define. But the word is derived. The word communication comes from the Latin word communicare. I hope I pronounced that right. Communicare, which means to share or to be in relation with. So when you are communicating, you are sharing. When you are sharing, you are establishing or maintaining a relationship. So communication is sharing, communication is relating, communication is exchanging. Okay? Now, Pearson and Nelson, 2000, define communication as the process of understanding and sharing meaning. Understanding and sharing meaning. So it means that before you are able to communicate a message and information, you must have an understanding of what you want to pass to the next person. All right? And what is being shared is meaning. It's not about sharing food or goods, it's sharing meaning. All right? So there is need for one to understand before passing on to the next person. Now let's look at this definition. I got it from Wikipedia and it's a very meaningful definition. It's a definition that I like. Now, it says that communication is the act of developing meaning among entities and groups using sufficiently mutually understood signs, symbols, and semiotic conventions. So, first and foremost, we can see that communication is an act. An act. An act that started somewhere, initiated by someone, and that act is aimed at developing meaning. All right? And that meaning has to be shared among entities or between groups or between people. Okay? And of course, if this is to be shared between people or among people, there has to be mutual understanding, mutual intelligibility. Yes, mutual understanding of the signs used or the symbols used. These signs or symbols could be spoken words, it could be signed words, it could be written words. So, communication involves an action, it involves meaning, meaning sharing, developing and sharing. It involves use of mutually understood signs or symbols or semiotic conventions. Now, let's look at the elements of communication. We've identified certain elements from the definitions that we explained earlier. So, but let's look at these elements closely. Yes, closely, so that we understand the functions of each of these elements. I'm going to be brief about it. We have the encoder. The encoder is the initiator of the communication process. That communication that is an act. That act is initiated by the encoder. Okay? The sender is the one who has the impetus to communicate. Here you can see that he is called the communicator. Okay? So the communication process begins, at least within that communication circle, begins with the encoder. Okay, so the encoder has some responsibilities, that of choosing the language of communication. Very important. He chooses the appropriate medium of communication. All right, he chooses how to style the communication style, how to package the information that he needs to deliver. All right, and he does that by putting the receiver and the message into consideration. Then we have the message. The message, as we can see, is the most important thing within the communication process, the most important element. Why do I say so? Without a message, there is no communication. All right? So we can say that communication is started because of the message. At the instant of the message, it is the message that determines, or that made the initiator, the encoder, to start thinking of passing or of beginning the communication process. Okay, so the message is the content of the communication process, is the object of the communication process, and we see that it evolves from stage two stage. Okay, so this message can be in the written form, in the oral form, or in the non-verbal form, depending on what the communicator wants. Then we have the medium or channel. Like I said before, that the message may be verbal or written, as in maybe oral or written or non-verbal. Okay, so the channel is that connecting rod that brings the sender and the receiver together. Okay, so that is why it is called the channel. It is called the medium. It is that path through which communication passes from the communicator, from the encoder to the receiver. Okay, so the medium or channel has to be appropriate. All right, it has to be rightly chosen so that the meaning of the message will not be lost. And then we have the decoder. The decoder is the receiver, and this person is the receiver is the person to whom information is targeted. So that whole thing of packaging information, of making it look beautiful, of making it understandable, is for the receiver to receive. Is targeted at the receiver. Okay, so but the receiver also has certain responsibilities, that of decoding. It's like a package has been sent to him, and so he has the responsibility of revealing that package, unraveling it, unwrapping it. Okay, so and then he now sent something very important, another kind of message that is referred to as feedback. He sends feedback back to the encoder. So that feedback is the effect of the message he received from the encoder. Okay, so and then we have another element, noise. If you look closely here, you can see noise. Noise is an important element. It's anything that can impede the free flow of communication. Now, it can occur at any point within the communication process. It can occur at the level of source, okay? It can occur during transmission, and it can occur at the level of reception. So it's any form of barrier or impediment to effective communication. Okay, and then we have feedback. We've talked about feedback. We said that feedback is the message that results from the effect of the initial message from the communicator. All right, so let's look at the process of communication. It's very simple and straightforward. Every communication must have a source. That source can be, we say, is the first stage of the communication process. The source, the message is from somewhere. So when we say we have the encoder gets that message from somewhere, the source. So the sender starts the communication process with this stage, okay? And then we have encoding is a process. Encoding is the second stage of the communication process. At this stage, the sender puts the information into patterns of a particular language if a language is used. So it's encoding, coding it, packaging the message. All right. And then we have the message. You can say it's messaging. It's the process, it's the third process of communication. It is that message that will travel, that will be transferred, that will transmit. The message is the content. that is packaged by the sender and is tailored to the purpose of the sender. Of course, there's need for considering the decoder. Then we have the medium or the channel. That's the fourth stage within the communication process. So the medium can be oral, it can be written, it can be non-verbal. So the purpose of any communication must factor in the channel. Okay, and then we have decoding. Decoding is done by the decoder. So the encoding, at the encoding stage, you see that the source or the encoder packages the message. All right, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. And then the decoder, when it gets to the decoder will have to show understanding. So that is why we say that there has to be mutual understanding of the signs, of the symbols used for communication. Then we have reception. The receiver not only breaks down the code of communication, he also associates the message with what experience has taught him or her. Okay, so that's it, the reception, very important. And then we have the feedback. Feedback is important. At this stage, the receiver sends a feedback to show understanding, to show that the message, the initial message, was well received. So you can see it here. This is the sender encoding the message and then passing the message through a particular channel to the receiver, and then the receiver is doing the decoding. If noise occurs at any point within the communication process, then there may be something like there may be misunderstanding, which could result from psychological context or physical context. So that's it. That's the interaction model of communication. This is the process of communication, how communication happens. All right, we have some exercises here. Please answer these questions at the comment section. Answer the questions at the comment section. The element of communication that signals the end and the beginning of two different communication phases is called what? What is it called? Okay, it's very easy. Now, the main object of communication process is what? There is something that is the main object of the communication process. What is it called? Then the part that connects the sender and the receiver during communication is known as what? Information exchange can take place through the media of dash, dash, and dash. There are three media of communication identified. So you let us know. The first stage of the communication process is known as supply the answer. On a final note, we have come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed every bit of it, every moment with me. Kindly subscribe, comment, and share our video. Not just this one, all our videos. And then visit us at www.englishstudieshub.com. We are there, waiting for you. See you in our next video.